Okay, so welcome everyone to another episode of College and Career Pathways, where every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2 p.m., we provide you with information on various colleges and universities, financial aid resources, skilled trade professions, training programs, technical schools, employment opportunities, career readiness skills, career exploration, all designed to help you make the best career decisions possible. I'm Tony Cureton, your host, and today we are back with Michigan Schools and Government Credit Union. They are continuing our financial literacy series because I think this is so important for everyone out there. And today we are going to be talking about how to understand preparing a basic tax return. Colleen, welcome back. We're so glad to have you.
All right. Thank you. Well, welcome. Thank you for having me again. A little different, not so much preparing tax returns, but really understanding your paycheck and the different taxes that come out and the things that come out. So also.
Good deal. Good deal.
So as usual, there's a nice introductory video for Let's Talk Taxes, and I will see you in a few minutes.
Aw yeah, my first paycheck. Time for a shopping spree. What the? This is way less than I thought. What gives? Am I being scammed? Maybe I should have a word with the boss.
That's just withholdings.
What holdings?
Withholdings. It's the portion of your paycheck that your employer withholds for the government. You pay it now, so you don't end up owing it at tax time. Let's just say this cake is your paycheck. The amount you earned pre-tax is your gross pay.
Well, that is kinda gross.
Gross as in the total amount. Now you have to pay taxes on that total, so your employer withholds a portion of each check.
Eek, that's brutal.
Heh, sure is. But it's necessary. What you're left with is your net pay, the amount you take home.
Swish, nothing but net.
Just no.
That seems like a lot, but where does it all go?
That's hilarious. Oh, you're not kidding. Okay, look. First of all, you have to pay the feds. Your federal tax goes to everything from unemployment benefits to education, infrastructure, and national defense.
I should pay them in cake. Then they'll really be fed.
Yeah, if you want the IRS to come after you. Totally not worth it. Anyway, state and local taxes work pretty much the same as federal taxes, but the rates depend on which city and state you live in. This money goes to schools, parks and rec, transportation, and low-income assistance, plus many other uses that your state and local government determine. Next, you have FICA tax.
FICA's tax? What do houseplants have to do with this?
Way off. These taxes come from the Federal Insurance Contributions Act, or FICA. FICA tax is used for two things: Social Security, to help you out with disability or retirement, and Medicare, to help with medical costs for seniors and people on Social Security.
I guess I might need those someday.
Yeah, probably.
But there are more deductions on here, look.
That's hilarious. I make so much more than you.
Hey, I was talking about deductions.
Okay. Last, you have voluntary deductions.
I don't remember volunteering for anything.
Voluntary deductions are things you choose, like employer-provided insurance and 401k retirement savings. Your deduction is for the company health insurance plan.
Oh, well, I guess it all makes sense. Dollars, you know what I mean.
Sure, Jen. Anyway, I've got some important texting to do, so...
Well, maybe I'll just...
Have you seen the birthday cake that I bought for my mom?
Nope.
All right, so silly as usual, but informative. Let me go back to, okay. So we're going, all right. Oh, we're going all the way. Sorry, it's not at the beginning, my apologies. Okay, let's talk taxes. So your paycheck is really kind of the most exciting part of a job. It's what you work towards. It's part of why you work at all. It's seeing your hard-earned work on a piece of paper. Well, you used to get handed a piece of paper. Now you look it up online and it's all available online. You might get handed a piece of paper. But that piece of paper tells you a lot of information. It's a very valuable source of information. It shows you where some of your income goes, how much there is. She showed in the video, some goes here, some goes here. What to expect at tax time helps you build a budget because you may have the same gross as many others, but you all have different net pays. So your paycheck really helps you with your budget specifically. So understanding how to read it. Now that what is the other that I have up here is a sample paycheck. So as we go through it, I kind of want to, as we go through learning these terms, go through where it is shown. So gross pay. Gross pay is what most people think of right away when someone says, oh, I make $10 an hour, or, I make 40 grand a year, or, I make $500. They said they'd pay me $500 a week. That's your gross pay. That's the total, $10 an hour times 10 hours, get $100. If you were babysitting and you got $10 an hour, you would leave your babysitting job with $100. Don't have any taxes taken out. But your job has to have taxes, deductions taken, to be fair, we all have them. And then what's left is what you take home. So in your head, a lot of time you're celebrating, oh, I got a $10 an hour job, or I guess at this point, I got a $20 an hour job. Let me plan out, well, okay, that's this much per week, per month. But really, it's the net pay. How much are you actually taking home? Now, this example isn't very good because it doesn't show any wages. It's all zero, but it'll show your gross wages, maybe how many hours you work, how much you get per hour. Even if it's salary, it'll break it down, and it'll show you this is the gross total. Withholdings. So withholdings being withheld from your check. It's the portion of your paycheck that goes to the government. And you say, well, why does the government get involved at all? I'm just working at a flower shop. It's all regulated. The flower shop has to pay taxes on its business. It has to pay taxes on its property, on rent on the building. People have to pay sales tax on purchasing the flowers that are purchased at the flower shop. So government and taxes is really, it's in everything. So it's keeping track. It's how can the government keep track of how much you made, how much you've earned, how much you should be contributing, because there's a specific amount they feel you should be contributing as your part, and your paycheck and all of these details is how they figure that out. Deductions are the voluntary things taken out, things that are of your choosing. that you may add on or add to have deducted from your account. And we'll look at some examples of that, because I know everyone's first guess is, why would I have voluntary? Why would I take more things out of my paycheck? But there's definitely benefits to doing so. So again, your pay stub may look a little different. You make $10 an hour at the flower shop, and you and your 5 friends work there, and you all make $10 an hour. But when you look at your paychecks on Fridays, or when you pick them up, your net pay, what you get to actually take home, is a very different number. You're not going to have exactly the same. It's rare. I don't think I've ever seen anyone where it's exactly the same. It depends on what your specific deductions are. So looking at what it would be. Withholdings from the government. These are taken out, I don't say without your permission, but automatically. It's part of being paid. It's part of being a legitimate employee. Certainly if you're part of a union, or if you're a part of, a government job like a school or a post office, you absolutely have that, that government overlook. Federal taxes going to kind of DC, Washington, DC, for the whole country. And what do those dollars go for? You don't get to pick specifically, you just give a percentage. Let's say if you make, let's say you're supposed to contribute 5% to your federal taxes. Now, that 5%, 3% might go to national defense, and 0.5% might go to education, and 0.5% to, you don't get to see how that's spent, but you're contributing to the fund that the government is dispersing, that the government is deciding how to spend that money. You are helping out those among us who need help. You are helping us in our towns, driving around on roads, having police, having schools. It's just part of being a citizen. The countries where they say, oh my God, I can't believe they have free healthcare and they free college. Yeah, it's free healthcare and free college, but the amount of federal taxes that they pay to the government is like 50%, might be like 50 to 60%. So think of, if you thought you were going to make $100 today and you're really going home with like 30 or 40, it's a different mindset. So think about wanting things and then looking at your paycheck and saying, oh, well, they'd have to take out more taxes from it. It might be higher or lower when you go to do your taxes. At the end of the year, you'll get a statement that shows this is how much you earn total, gross. This is how much the federal government took out total. And when you file your taxes, that number may match up against what they feel, your contribution should have been. And if you get a tax refund, that just means you've already paid too much. So everyone wants a refund. Oh, I hope when I file, I get a refund. It's like bonus money. It's not bonus money. It's you receiving your own money back. So, right, if you left with $40 and you're like, oh man, and then when it came tax time and you filed your taxes and the government said, you know what, here's $10 back. It's not a new $10. It's a $10 from that original 100. So as nice as it is to get a refund, you can try to, budget around a refund, but ideally you don't want a refund. You want a small or as break even. You want to be able to hold on to as much money, as you can each month, and then like maybe you get it back later. State and local taxes. We all have to pay Michigan taxes. Michigan tax goes towards, gasoline and Parks and Rec. And, if there's monuments and statues in the park and certain programs that, you know, Chamber of Commerce and the government, they'll set up. Some cities have taxes, not all cities. I lived in Pontiac, and that city had taxes. And I believe Detroit also has city taxes, but most smaller towns, for the most part, do not have taxes. And when I lived in Pontiac, it was such a small amount. You know, they really only take a very small percentage because, you know, let's say the federal takes, you know, 10%, and we've got, you know, the state taking 5%, and the city's only taking 2%. You know, it's getting a smaller amounts as we go down in geographic, you know, size. And it was so little, I would have gotten back such a small amount that it cost me more to file the paperwork than I would be getting back. So I was like, forget it. But keep in mind, you know, if you're not going to stay in Michigan forever, if you work in a different state, you have to pay taxes for that state. So for instance, when I was growing up, I lived in Connecticut, and my dad works in New York. So he drives to New York and back every single day for work. So he didn't pay full New York state taxes because he didn't live there. But he drove on the roads every day. You know, he had a stake in the state. He had a stake in, you know, the success and the beauty of the state. So a small amount, you know, was taken from his, or, you know, from his check. If someone, I know people who work, you know, in Wisconsin and Michigan and go back and forth, you may have to pay multiple state taxes. If you move in the middle of the year, if you have jobs in different states, you'll get pieces of paper that say you made this much when you worked here, and then you'll get one that says you made this much when you worked here. You'll put it all together to get your total adjusted gross income. But this sure sounds like a lot of stuff, right? This sounds like a lot. So if we were looking at our paycheck, we'd say here's our gross wages. Let's say $10 an hour. Our gross is, well, 70 hours would be like $700, $7,000. Oh, I didn't do FICA. My apologies. FICA is the last one. FICA is the Federal Insurance Contribution Act. That, similar to the federal taxes, kind of goes into a bucket, you know, a bucket of help. You know, that money, it goes towards, you know, Social Security, it goes towards Medicare, it goes towards, you know, low income, disability, all kinds of programs, you know, that come from the government. But it's a different amount. It's a different system. It doesn't count in your standard taxes. Okay, and that's kind of the issue. Well, a very simplified version of the issue people have with Social Security, saying, oh, well, let's not do Social Security, lower the number, forget Social Security. Well, all of us that have had it taken out of our paycheck for, you know, decades of time, we're like, well, what happened to all the money that we put in, you know, or we want to get something out of it too. So when we want to be taken care of when it's time, when we get disabled or when we get old, and need, you know, Medicare help. So it's really complicated because when you make the tiniest change, you're really affecting, you know, everybody who's working, not just specific group. Social Security, Medicare. Okay, so back to the pay stub. It'll show you exactly how much is being taken out for Medicare, exactly how much is being taken out for Social Security, how much this check, and then year to date. The YTD, you'll see that a lot. Year to date gross, year to date, you know, description, year to date net. It's just the total for the whole year. You'll see how much was taken out in federal taxes, how much was taken out in state taxes. If you have any city taxes or maybe other state taxes, or, you know, you might even be driving to Windsor and then you got to deal with Canada. And then the Social Security here, or Social Security disability insurance. You have private insurance, and we'll look at that example in a second. But look at all of these lines. Even if they only take out a little, even if they all take out $5, I mean, now we're down, you know, we're down $30 or so. It's so taxes going up or down, or city taxes going up or down, when you vote on millages and whether you're going to restore a road, all of that is tied up, you know, in your paycheck. Do you agree to pay 10 cents more a check? Will you pay 10 cents more every paycheck to the city of, you know, Warren? And because of that, Warren gets a new mural on, you know, a building. You know, there's a lot of, we get a new park built. So there's a lot of different reasons or things the money can go towards, but it's not always going to necessarily be consistent. Voluntary deductions. And again, previously, those are all obligatory, required. You cannot opt out of taxes. You cannot opt out of, you know, Social Security and Medicare. It's just, it's part of it. Now, how much? Well, how much depends on your specific situation. And we'll look at voluntary deductions, where it really starts to change between people. Retirement savings. And retirement savings can be as simple as $50 from your paycheck each month is automatically deposited into your savings account. That could be your, you know, as a 17-year-old, as an 18-year-old, that could be your, you know, retirement savings. It could be a percentage of my total paycheck automatically goes into a certain account. Depending on where you work, they may offer a 401k program or 401k account, meaning you're contributing, you're putting money into this account. You're signing off to say a certain amount, however much I would like, let's say 5%, to be taken out and put into this savings fund, this, you know, long-term savings fund that I can't touch. I can't get to it. And if you're really lucky, you'll get a employer who will match your contribution, or who will at least provide, you know, 1 or 2% of your paycheck, which is really great. I mean, think about it. If you got an extra 1% every single paycheck for, you know, for free, and that just sat in an account and gained money, that's amazing. Find out if there's any retirement savings program. Are you taking advantage of it? It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. It doesn't have to be, you know, it could be when I substitute taught, when I was a substitute teacher, when I first started out teaching, and I had it set up, so 2% of my check went to this, it was like a Roth IRA. It was an IRA I had set up as like a long-term savings. I wasn't setting up a 401k for substitute teaching, but I wanted it to go somewhere, you know, that was far away. Now, 2% of a substitute teacher's salary, even if you're working every single day, isn't very much, not at all. But the point is time, right? The point is a little bit now and a little bit and a little bit and a little bit adds up. So even though it hurts to pay yourself first, this is the pay yourself first. You want to see all the money in your hand from your paycheck, but by putting 8%, 9% of your check aside for retirement, that means that money makes money, you know, over and over and over again. So that is a decision you get to make. How much, what percentage do I want going into retirement savings or a savings account, or, you know, two different savings. Employer provided health coverage. When we do the reality fairs, and I ask the students, like, oh, well, you know, what are you doing for healthcare? Where's your healthcare costs in here? And they're like, oh, my job pays for that. Well, okay, well, what do you mean by that? Well, I don't have to pay anything, right? When someone says, oh, my job covers healthcare. Oh, thank God, my job comes with benefits, or I have really good benefits at my job. What that means isn't I just get free benefits. I wish it was, and some people are just that lucky. But as a rule, it means the company, like the 401k, is offering you a program that you can take advantage of if you want. And it's usually a much, much cheaper and better deal than if you were to say, no, thank you, I'm going to go shop around on my own and get one on my own, because your company gets to buy in such, you know, bulk packages. So you can choose to say, I would like, yeah, I want medical insurance. Great. Medical insurance for one single person. Let's say that's $10 taken out every month. Okay, well, do you want dental insurance? Well, that's another $2. Well, what about vision? Well, that's another $3. Okay. Do you have life insurance? Did you set up so you're maybe paying life insurance? No? Okay, well, we'll look into that later. That might be a couple dollars too. And that's on top of when you take out your retirement savings, on top of all of the taxes. Healthcare, when you start out, is just you, but it doesn't always stay that way. If you have just yourself, let's say they take out $10 a month. If you're married and you say, okay, I want my coverage to include myself and my spouse, so we can both go to the doctor, we can both go to the hospital, you know, we're both covered. Well, then it's probably going to cost $20 a month or so, okay? If I say, oh, we had twins, you know, we had triplets, or I just started a new job and I say, oh, I already have 4 kids, I can get a health plan that covers myself, my spouse, and my 4 kids, but it's not going to be $10 a month. You know, it's going to be a larger number because it's covering more people, right? Which only makes sense, right? You can choose not to. You can choose to say, you know, no, thank you. I do not want health insurance through you. Maybe you already get it through your spouse. You're choosing theirs instead. Maybe you just don't think it's a good deal. You should get it through your company. As a not-for-profit, MSGCU has great benefits. They match up to 7%. So they on your, which is a lot, which means that's like 14% of your check every time, just getting built up and built up. Use it. Find out if there's a match. Other specialized insurance, pet insurance. Did you know pet insurance existed? I found out about it when I was waitressing, and I was like, oh, I want to get pet insurance. That's great. And then I found out that I had to pay for it, and, you know, a certain amount had to be taken out of my check every month as coverage. I was like, oh, well, I'm not going to pay for it. You might want to have, you know, extra, you have a bunch of dogs, or you have the horses. There's all kinds of different coverages. You may want to be putting money in a college saving. You could have, let's say, 5% going to retirement and 2% going into an educational savings fund. And there's special savings accounts that are just for education that earn really pretty decent amount of money. You can't touch them. You can only use them for school, and that's it. The government will allow you to not pay taxes on them, not pay taxes on the gains that they earn, but you have to use it for school. So it's a good idea. It's fiscally responsible, planning ahead. oh, I should be putting a small amount aside now, even if my kids are little. And you know what? If you say, well, I don't know if my kid's going to want to go to college. Okay, you have another kid. It can transfer to a cousin. You can use it yourself. You know, it's not really an expiration date. There's different types, but it just has to be used on education as a rule. You know, it doesn't have to be used on a university or only on books or anything like that. So going back to our pay stub here, we see that they are contributing to their 401k. So there's this certain amount taken off as well. They are taking part in their medical program. So there's, you know, little amount withheld there. They said, yep, I also want dental insurance. So they're taking out, you know, a small percentage, few dollars here. Whew. So this is the total amount you made, total amount you earned. This is the total amount that was taken out, I guess, and this is the total amount that you get to go home with. And when you open up the check and this middle one's, this is right in front of your face, and you look at it and you're like, yeah, this is, oh, how great. And then your eyes go down to the bottom and you're like, oh, it's really only this much. And this is pretty startling. This can be startling because it's hard. Working is hard. You work hard for your money, and you need to contribute as a civilian, as a member of society. So how much, whether it's 20% or 15% or your city taxes going up, all of that can change kind of year to year. You can change how much you put in towards, you know, your 401k. You can change which accounts your paycheck goes into. You know, you can have some going into this checking account, some going into this checking account. But it can be quite startling when you know, this is $100 and we say, okay, well, we took out 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 45, 50, 55. Now that's, you know, 5% each. They're not all quite that, but that's half your check already. If your check were $100 gross and you had taxes taken out and you contributed, you'd probably have, yeah, maybe $55. Yeah, $60, I guess. So it's not like you're going to get 90. You know, you really got to plan ahead of time and budget for that realistic number, not the fund number, the gross amount. And when you say, well, what do you mean it changes how much you pay in taxes? Isn't it just like 20% or you know, 13%? It also depends on your personal situation, how much you earn. If you earn under a certain amount, if you earn less than, I believe, $20,000 a year, you pay very low taxes, you know, a very small amount in taxes, because it's acknowledged that you don't have a lot of income, so we're only going to collect a little bit. And then there's a bracket of people that make large amounts of money, you know, the 1%, and they pay a much higher rate in taxes because they earn more, they should contribute more, so they have, you know, maybe 40%, 30% taken out of taxes. And then there's everybody in between. You know, you might earn $50,000 a year, or $700,000 a year, or $300,000 a year. And we all know it may change drastically from year to year. So it's not a matter of you are going to be paying 20% federal taxes. Kind of, but depending on, you know, how big your family is, what city you end up living in, do you have union dues that are also taken out of your check? If you have, oh goodness, student loans, they come back to get you. If you have unpaid student loans with the government, guess where they're going to take their money from? Your paycheck. You have your wages garnished. You can have your tax refund garnished. So if you don't finish school and think you don't have to pay your student loan back if you don't finish, that is very incorrect. You absolutely have to pay it back. So really look at your pay stubs, and it's not going to be, exactly the same $50.23, exactly the same every time. And it depends on what kind of job you have. If you work the same 40 hours a week, you can pretty much get a sense of how much your check's going to be. But if you're a waitress, or you work retail in a store, you could be working 10, 30, 50 hours a week. Your paycheck really tells you a lot. So when you first get a job, this is becoming a real job. I know people and they say, oh, well, I have a job. I work with these landscapers, or I work, at my friend's store, and I do hair. And those are all great. That's entrepreneurship. But there's only so long you can go before you need to make your business, legal. You can't just go around asking everyone to pay for their lawn in cash. If you have a website and asking people to come visit, you need to be registered with a company number and produce all of this documentation. Were there any questions on withholding taxes? I did share with Ms. Kierton this handout. It's hard to read when it's so small, I'm sure, but it's got descriptions of all these terms we went over, some of the acronyms you'll see, and these will be the same no matter where you work. What color the paycheck is, and maybe how it's shaped, and the font and all that could be very different. But each one is still going to have each of these pieces of information.
No questions, you guys? Well, great presentation as always, Colleen. It's a lot of really good information. You explained very well how to understand the taxes that come out of your pay salary, because I know it is a cultural shock when you get that actual first check stub and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
There should be some more here.
Definitely feels like a trip.
Absolutely. But yeah, really good information. And thank you again for the presentation. Always excellent job. And we will bring this to a close and wish everyone a good afternoon, and see you guys on next time. Thanks for tuning in. Bye, you guys. Bye, Colleen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.